There are moments in galactic history that arrive quietly, disguised as routine. This was one of them. The Kharzul Dominion had conquered 11,000 worlds in its long, unbroken march across the stars. Every species that mattered had bent the knee. Every species that resisted had been erased and forgotten, their names scrubbed from star charts like ink from wet paper. It was not cruelty, the Kharzul told themselves. It was simply the natural order. Strength governed. Weakness obeyed. So when their scouts found a small, blue world orbiting an unremarkable yellow star, the Dominion did what it always did. Sent an envoy, not to negotiate, to collect. Earth, read the report. Population approximately 8 billion. Technology level, early interstellar. Military capacity, negligible. Recommend immediate tribute demand. The envoy ship, the voice of judgment, descended into Earth's atmosphere with the calm arrogance of a species that had never once been told no. Ambassador Threx Calorian stood at the head of the negotiating chamber in what humans called Geneva, his 4 eyes surveying the delegation before him. Humans, soft-skinned, single-hearted, fragile things. He had studied their history files on the way, their wars, their cruelty to one another, their chaos. It only confirmed what he already believed. The Dominion requires tribute, Threx said, his translator flattening his voice into something cold and mechanical. Resources, labor, genetic samples for cataloging. In exchange, the human across the table, a woman with tired eyes and steady hands, introduced only as Director Amara Osei, did not flinch. And if we decline? Threx almost laughed. Almost. Then your capital will burn, and the next generation of humans will grow up in Dominion mines, grateful for the privilege. He expected fear. He expected pleading. Instead, Director Osei folded her hands and said quietly, "You should know something about us before you make threats." Threx tilted his head. "Enlighten me. We've been fighting each other for 10,000 years, she said. We are very, very good at war. We just haven't had a reason to point it outward yet." The ambassador dismissed it as bravado, primitive posturing. He gave them 72 hours to comply. He did not expect what would greet him when he returned to orbit. The Dominion fleet arrived above Earth expecting an easy demonstration. A single warning strike, enough to shatter morale and secure compliance. Instead, they found themselves surrounded. Not by warships. Earth had none capable of matching Dominion firepower, not yet. What surrounded the voice of judgment and its escort vessels were thousands of smaller craft, civilian and military alike, converging from every nation on the planet. Fishing trawlers retrofitted with jury-rigged plasma cutters. Decommissioned jets flying in tight formations. Orbital stations that had, in 72 hours, been stripped down and rebuilt into makeshift gun platforms. It wasn't overwhelming force. It was something stranger, something the Dominion's tactical computers struggled to categorize. "They should be retreating," muttered Threx's second officer, staring at the sensor readouts. "Their vessels have a 94% probability of destruction in direct engagement." "Then why," Threx said slowly, "are more of them arriving?" On the surface, in a hardened bunker beneath Geneva, Director Osei watched the same feed with a calm that unsettled even her own staff. "General," she said into her calm, "status of the civilian fleet. 200,000 vessels and rising, ma'am. Volunteers. We had to turn people away." "Turn people away?" she repeated almost to herself. "Volunteers who know they might die for a fight they can't win." A young aide beside her, pale and shaking, asked the question everyone was thinking. "Why would they do that? We can't beat them." Osei didn't look away from the screen. "Because they know something the Dominion doesn't. We were never fighting to win today. We were fighting so that whatever comes after us inherits a planet worth defending." Aboard the Voice of Judgment, Threx Calorian watched the human fleet hold position. Not attacking, not retreating, simply there. A wall of imperfect, mismatched, desperately outgunned ships, refusing to move. "Open a channel," he ordered. Director Osei's face appeared on the screen, calm despite the chaos surrounding her world. "You cannot win this?" Threx said. And for the first time, there was something almost like confusion in his voice. We know, Osei replied simply. Then why do this? She was quiet for a moment, and when she spoke, her voice carried into every ship in that fleet, human and alien alike. Because somewhere in our history, someone always stood between the people they loved and the thing that wanted to destroy them. Sometimes they won. Most times they didn't. But they stood anyway. That's not strategy, Ambassador. That's just who we are. Threx stared at the screen long after the transmission ended. He ran the numbers again. Compliance would save these ships. Compliance was the logical choice. Every threat model his people had, and yet the fleet grew larger by the hour. He thought of the 11,000 worlds his people had conquered. How many had knelt at the first threat? How many had never even tried to stand? None of them had done this. Sir, his second officer said quietly. Orders. Threx looked at the wall of ships. Farmers and pilots and retired soldiers and teenagers who had lied about their age to volunteer, all standing in the black void between their homes and annihilation. Not because they could win, but because leaving was never an option they had considered. Withdraw the fleet, he said. Sir. Withdraw. Threx repeated, softer now. Tell the Dominion Council. Tell them we've found something that doesn't fit the models. The Dominion ships broke orbit 3 days later, retreating into the dark without a shot fired. No tribute was paid. No demonstration was made. In the records the Dominion kept, records meant to catalog the weaknesses of conquered species, a new entry was written about Earth, one that no analyst could quite explain in tactical terms. Species does not calculate survival before choosing courage. Ambassador Threx Calorian never forgot that fleet, imperfect and outmatched, holding the line simply because someone needed to. In the centuries that followed, as the Dominion quietly reconsidered its next move toward the blue world at the edge of known space, one truth spread quietly among those who had been there. Humanity did not need to win to be dangerous. They only needed to refuse to leave. And for the first time, the galaxy understood what it truly meant to be human.